Hello, I'm Philip Silverstone. What exactly does that mean? Stick around, and over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you.
You need to meet our next guest, Mr. Philip Silverstone. How nice to meet you.
There's a wine.
Yes, what exactly?
Hello. The voice hasn't changed, as you know. The face has changed. Oh my God, I should put... Oh, look at me. I did shave today. Welcome to Silverstone Live. I'm very excited about today. If you'd know what I've just been through the last half hour, you'd understand why I need my Campari, and those buggers, they still haven't said they'd sponsor the show. Anyway, welcome to Silverstone Live on Facebook with the recorded videos available here on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel immediately after the live show. This is the place for fashion, entertainment, food and drink, and so much more. Each week I invite a special guest to join me to discuss one of these topics. Post your thoughts and comments during the live show below the live stream, and my guest will address as many as possible in the next hour. You are already popping hellos to me. Hello, Christiane Bayens. You're in Belgium, I think, right? Rabina Haining, I know you're in Scotland. Before I do anything, I have to do a little bit of business. Stick around, and I will then introduce the man in our virtual green room that you've all been waiting to see. But first, a little bit of business coming up right now. Silverstone Live is powered by Experimach, King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, the Apple specialist for people who can't afford the Apple stores and who want a less frenzied experience. There's no wait time at Experimach, King of Prussia. They accept trade-ins and transfer data at no additional charge, and most repairs are finished in under 15 minutes, and they can add memory on the spot. Experimach, King of Prussia, specializes in selling pre-owned Apple products, a full range: computers, iPhones, iPads and accessories, making repairs, taking trade-ins and selling software and system updates. And every purchase comes with a 12-month warranty. Silverstone Live is only live each week thanks to our studio equipment, care and support by my mates at Experimach, King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Well, during that, I want to say hi, Anne Smith. I love you, Anne. You are always a good friend. Christiane, yes, I know you're in Belgium and you never send me any chocolates. Maria Mavridi, hello. Howard Silverstone, my brother, now MBE. He was at Buckingham Palace last week with, you all know this, with what's his name, that geezer? Prince William, and we're not allowed to show photos of that. Although Emma Thompson can show photos. Carol Burnett, hello. Rabina, I've already said hello. So listen, today's guest for the hour is in our virtual green room, and I'll drag him out kicking and screaming after we start today's show with his mega hit from 1966. Pop pickers, all right? Sit tight, that's right. Let's spin this 45 by my guests, Zoot Money and the Big Roll Band, and a number many of you will remember called Big Time Operator. Let's play the movie right now.
For a time I worked at Miller.
little illustrator. I'm gonna be a big time operator. Oh, yeah. But don't you know I'm gonna be in the big time, baby. A big time operator. No, no. And a whole lot of people working for me, I'm gonna tread on their face. I don't care, man. I'm gonna bread like nobody seen before. I'll be so big time, you won't be able to look in my face. I'm such a...
I'm going to answer your question, Anne Smith, right now. I don't know how many of you heard my interview on my podcast, 90 minutes it was, with Zoot, but I had an intro that I'm going to use now, which comes from allaboutmusic.com, because it sums up everything succinctly. I'm abbreviating it a bit. But in the 60s, swinging London was full of extroverted, colourful characters, and one of the brightest was Zoot Money, the merry prankster. He's still a prankster, who led the big roll band from behind. I can't say this with a straight face, but I'm going to try to. Who led the big roll band from behind his huge organ. I'd say that's too much information, but we'll see. Zoot embodied and still embodies an irrepressible spirit that celebrates the good time vibe and energy of his music. George Bruno Money was born in, here you come, Anne, I'm going to answer your question right now. He was born in Bournemouth, a genteel holiday town on the south coast of England. You know it, Howard, you and I used to go there. He was one of the post-war generation fascinated by American R&B music, so he took up the Hammond organ and borrowed his stage name from jazzman Zoot Sims. George was a great singer with a cracked voice and an exuberant manner, and in 1961 he formed the Big Roll Band, recruiting a local 16-year-old Andy Summers on guitar. And the band moved to London in 64, got a residency at the Flamingo Club in Soho, toured the busy club circuit that had sprung up from the British blues boom, where their mixture of soul, blues, R&B combined with Zoot's high-energy antics to make a great night out. Zoot's band had a string of successful singles, including the one you just heard, Big Time Operator. And now, ladies and gentlemen, and in particular, Zoot, hello and welcome, my dear.
Hello, Philip. Philly from Philly. All right.
Now, listen, are you sure you're coming from England, or it looks to me like you're coming from Mars? I mean, the picture is awful, but we'll make the most of it. We'll do what we can with it. Zoot, you and I have become the best of friends, and you're the most Jewish Italian man I've ever met. Why is that?
Because I was brought up a Roman Catholic, that's real Catholicism for you, Philip. My mother was, and my father were from Genoa, and my mother carried the Roman Catholic way of Catholicism right the way through to England to keep her 4 children in line. And the thing was, Bournemouth so full of I almost became an honorary Jew, because they all thought, because my name was Money, that I must be one.
Yes, as you just said, Bournemouth was full of Jews, and my family used to go down there a lot, and added to that. Let's talk about Big Time Operator, because I've got to get this out the way. It was written by Tony Coulton and Ray Smith. Tony was a regular in the club scene, and he sort of befriended all the big names in the 60s, and he even spent a few years singing his own songs. But who was Ray Smith, and how did you end up with this anthem of the ages? How did you all get together and come up with this song? I didn't ask you this last time we spoke.
Well, Tony and Ray would be writing songs constantly, as was proven later on, of course, when they formed Hands and Feet, a very underrated, a very well thought of band. It had Albert, what's the name in it? as a guitarist.
Albert
But
Lee.
Ray Smith.
Albert Lee.
Yeah, and Robert and Ray is a good guitarist himself, great guitarist, singer, and great writer. I'm still in contact with him. I actually was in contact with him today. He's got a bit of work done on his prostate at the moment, but we shan't go into that. There's too much of that about anyway. They were writing songs basically just, in an office, much like the Brill building, but it was in Soho. And they were doing all these songs and trying to get them moved with artists, but we hit it off as sort of friendship, really. As a result of which they wrote a whole lot. They didn't just write Big Tom Operator. They wrote a whole lot of songs for with me in mind. Self Discipline's another one of them. I can't remember them all now, but because there were quite a few on the B-sides and singles that we did, but they came up with it because it was obvious that we were the club band of the time, and we weren't necessarily getting big success. And the fact was, we were such a good live band that we couldn't really conquer the recording market. So they sort of put into practice in the words the thing that everybody thinks about, do an odd job here and an odd job there just to make money. And that hasn't changed, by the way. Everybody's still scrambling around trying to make a buck. And jobs, some people, I had 3 jobs at one stage just so I could go and do gigs at the weekend. So they put that all into one song, and I think that's how it became very popular at the time.
And you're still playing it?
Oh yeah, I've got a new version of it that I recorded, as you know, about a couple of years ago with the brothers. You had them on there last week.
Yeah, and I got a little snippet or two coming up. I've got quite a few snippets. I've got a lot to do here. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm looking all over the screen, it's because I'm doing it all. There's a lot going on here. Now, I want the audience to know, Zoot, because you know this, and I know this, but I want the audience to know you've been associated with Eric Burdon, and they'll know a lot of these names, especially our audience in the UK. Eric Burdon, Steve Marriott, Alexis Korner, Spencer Davis, Alan Price, and so many other people integral to the British music scene, which, of course, began in the 60s. The ones who are still kicking all got so old looking. I don't know how you've maintained your looks, but forgetting that, we won't get into that conversation. Do you keep in touch with any of them? I mean, the ones who are still alive?
Well, the ones you've mentioned, yeah. Eric, I'm still in contact, email contact, and he phones me at Christmas when he feels really nostalgic for England. He gives me hobbling into the microphone, thinking that I'm just around the corner somewhere. But I'm in touch with Andy Summers, of course, and both of them, I think, are going through this terrible fire thing that's going on. So I shall be emailing Andy probably later on today.
Andy Summers, of course. Yeah. People know from the Police, and you're talking about the fire in California, right?
That's right. And the other people you mentioned. Of course, Alexis not with us anymore. Great grandfather of blues now.
You know what I'm going to do, Zoot? You won't see this because on Skype you don't see any of this, but I've got lined up here some photographs on some of these people. I'm going to ask you, as I put each photo up, to tell me maybe in a sentence or so what you remember the most from them, what you learned from them, anything about them that springs to mind. The first picture I'm putting up on the screen is Alan Price.
Yeah, I still work with him. I was with him last night. I worked in the Bull's Head in Barnes, which is about 2 miles from where I live, and he lives about 100 yards from the gig. I do it every month with Alan, yeah. I'm still in contact with Alan, yeah.
Okay, and the next one I'm going to put up is the late great, and probably your mentor, I would think, Alexis Korner.
Yes, he taught me everything. Need to know about and particularly how to rehearse. This is the rehearsal you do is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all you need to know.
I'm actually going to touch on that again in a minute because I remember something you told me. I'm going to put up the great Andy Summers. So what you and Andy started, your picture's gone. There you go. I hope you touch.
Somebody was trying to get. Carry on.
I was going to say, you touch anything on your camera there, I'm going to lop your hands off, and then we'll see what you'll do with your giant big organ. But anyway, Andy Summers and you started out together, the big band, didn't you?
Yes, we did in Bournemouth, yeah. And he was the only guitarist I could find in the whole of Bournemouth that could actually play what I had heard on record and I wanted to reproduce from right the way through all those soul artists. And I gave him the record, and the next day he'd come back and he could play in all those styles. He just wouldn't, he was relentless on rehearsing. So the friendship's sort of gone right the way through. We've been in about 3 or 4 bands together since then, yeah. Okay,
the next one, very famous man, everyone knows him, Eric Burdon, the man with some serious attitude.
Yes. Well, the eternal libido, he won't let it rest, that boy. Got a lovely wife at the moment, very nice. She's the only one that keeps him on the straight and narrow, and I think that's because she's a lawyer.
What do you mean he's got a lovely wife at the moment? What did he do with the previous one?
They sort of disappeared from him, really. Angie was his first wife, and there's loads of pictures out. The original of the wedding where we were all being festooned with stuff. I was in a top hat and tails, I remember, together with Terry, his road manager. That was Angie Burdon, but sadly she moved to Australia after they parted company, and she's not with us anymore. A lot of them are gone, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Now I'm going to put another picture up because Here, Eric Burdon is in the company in the back right-hand corner in a pair of, they're jeans. They look like leather trousers. A young bearded geezer. I think his name is Zoot Money. You're standing, you know the picture I'm talking about? There's a cowboy-hatted dude on the left scratching a tree, and you're standing there with an Eric. Eric's smiling, and you're the one with the attitude in this picture. What was that, a bad day?
Well, that was my moody period.
Oh.
That was my moody period, where I joined Eric, and I was still sort of signed to another record company in England. I just abandoned it and just went, look, I'm going to go and join Eric and actually make some money and also see America, which is what I had wanted to do all along. So all the publicity photographs, I sort of took on another persona, and on the records I was put down as George Bruno as opposed to Zoot Money, so that the record company couldn't say that I was, breaking the contract. I mean, we came to an arrangement eventually. They realised that I was not going to be tied down by anybody. I thought it was a ridiculous premise that record companies would insist that you couldn't go and sit in on other people's records. I thought that was ridiculous. Of course, now it happens all over the place. People doing duos and doing all sorts of things and playing with other bands and guesting, as long as you get a mention on the record sleeve. Where's the harm?
Yeah.
Where's the harm?
I've got to say also that in this photograph, and I'm going to move on to another picture, but I think the reason that Eric Burdon's got a smile on his face is it looks like you're tickling his bum. I don't know, Zoot, if that's true or not. We won't get into that. We won't get into your personal life now. Let me move on to the man who I think you sound like, or who sounds like you, and that is Georgie Fame. Did anyone ever tell you sounded like Georgie Fame? My man GF, yeah. I just, when I first came to, saw him in the Flamingo, I came from Bournemouth and saw him, and it sort of convinced me that the other people were playing music that had all the amalgamations of all the things we listened to, a bit of jazz, a bit of soul, a bit of gospel, a bit of blues, and Georgie seemed to encapsulate all of those things for me, and I thought, and I continued with my band on the strength of seeing him and putting into practice
actually making a move to trying to get to London to play in the Flamingo. I consciously geared my career so I could actually get and play there, mainly because I saw him live and it convinced me. And of course, the friendship is still very strong.
And I got to show people a little picture. I'm going to show a picture. I've been drinking too much Campari, mate. I'm going to show people a picture of Georgie Fame as he looks now. Look at that. Look at that.
Barnet, yeah, lovely white barnet, yeah.
What's all this with the wives? I'm not talking about the bloody wives. Don't keep going on about the wives. We're talking about the... Anyway, I'm back with you. I got some questions for you. What did you want to say?
White barnet. I said white... the white barnet, he looks actually the same as he did then, but it's just white, you know. He still looks good.
Yeah, he's got the white barnet, and I don't have any barnet, which is why I wear the hat. Let me just say hello to my friend Tony. Hello to Candy, who thinks that these are awesome pictures. Anne Smith, who's a regular on this show. She worked in Oxford Street in a store from 66 to 70 and was very aware of Zoot and the Big Roll Band during those times, but never got to see them, although I'm sure my husband did, as he went to the Flamingo quite a lot. Well, you play in Barnes, so wait a minute, Anne, you live in Spain, don't I? Forget, you know what, I forget where you live. Anyway, if anyone's living or can get to Barnes, how often do you play at Barnes?
Well, I played with Alan, obviously, last night, and every month we do that, the second Thursday in the month. But on the 27th of December, my band is playing there, and I call it the Escape from the Turkey Sandwich Party. I always do it every year between Christmas and New Year, when people just don't want to see any more turkey sandwiches, and they just can't be bothered. And of course, musicians a lot of them are sort of not working, and they're sitting around the house driving the wife or the girlfriend absolutely mad. So I go, come on down and just blow with me, come and play. And sometimes it ends up with about 10 people on the stage. It's really great.
I wish I could come. What's the name of the place where you play, so everyone knows?
The Bull's Head in Barnes, which is Southwest 13. It's south of Hammersmith by about 2 miles.
Most of you coming through loud and clear there on the moon. That's pretty good. So having your own band, Zoot, it gave you the freedom you needed to create your own music. But being part of the New Animals, or any group for that matter, must have been to some extent less of a headache from the business side of running your own band. So did you have to decide between the freedom of making your own music and not once or twice worrying about the business side of it? I mean, was that sort of something you had to weigh up and decide which way you wanted to go? Did that ever come up?
The reason I finally said yes to Eric, he said, come and join me, I want to replenish the band. I want to change its outlook. Getting different musicians in, and the time of making moves to do some film music and to do other things. He's actually since then become a Sikh, and he's in Australia, by the way, under a different name. But Eric at that time offered me an out from having to worry about having a band because I'd changed to Dan Tellier's Chariot, as you know, and you've probably told your listeners, and we managed to get rid of all the money that we'd earned for the 2 years before that with the Big Roll Band, because people could not accept that I was, that I was doing all these original compositions of my own and using a light show. So I just got married and I had 2 stepsons. So immediately I had to start thinking about earning an actual regular wage, and coupled with the fact that he was going to go all over America again and make his life in America, I thought, two great reasons, you know, a regular wage and see America. And the third thing was he wanted me to be the MD, the musical director, but that wasn't a strain because the people that he had were really good and easy to work with, and they understood the music I'd done, and they were easy to, I don't know, not manipulate, but just sort of mold into a good band. And the Animals, the new Animals, where we did that double album, Love Is, everybody said that, oh, great album. Well, that's true, and it came out as a double album. That's the first one that I actually managed to sort of produce, basically. But it was those three things that I thought, oh, let's go and see. And of course, it was great for me to see America. Great to finally get, you know, onto the shores over there and see, you know, see firsthand what's what, you know. And we travelled everywhere. We went all over the place. Yeah. I didn't mind giving up the band because I knew they'd all go to great places, you know. Yeah. Colin Allen went and joined Focus eventually. Andy Summers did Soft Machine and eventually came back and joined the Animals. I got him back into the Animals because he was fiddling around in New York and with nothing happening.
My brother, who has the same sense of humour as me, or because I'm older, so he has this. He just made a quip that it's ironic, and I've just put this on the screen so people can see that the Silverstones have a great sense of humour. It's ironic that Zoot joining the new Animals was less of a burden. Get it?
Big groan there.
Let's just stick with Andy. Let's get off of that immediately. Let's just stick with Andy Summers a minute. I have to ask you this. I don't have to. I want to ask you this. He honed his art in your own big roll band. Did you feel that when he joined the Police, you know, with Sting and etc., do you feel that he sold out to pop music than staying with soul, jazz and R&B?
No, not at all. He was always destined to go further than just our band. He put all of his heart and soul into it, and when I said, well, finally, well, it's not happening, what do you think? And in fact, to a great degree, Dantalia's Chariot was the beginning of Andy stepping out, you know, making his own inroads, working together with me, writing together, but it was just the beginning of him wanting to stretch out. And we always knew that he'd be, you know, we were going on. The man was... He was practicing something like 12 hours a day. There was no way that he wasn't going to be an actual active musician until he dropped. And when he formed that trio, and I listened to it, and they were calling themselves New Wave at the time, I thought it was incredibly exciting and wonderful right from the beginning. And I said to him, "This is really good. You know, this is really strong what you've got here." You know, and they did make a fist of it, and they did very, very well. And they did put into pop music a lot more than the other people were doing because they were thinkers. He was a thinker, and well, Sting is a teacher. He was a teacher, so they knew literature, they knew and they knew how to use words and to invent different rhymings and using different storylines. Which all three of them very accomplished at what they do, and I think they added something great to the pop market. Of course, I am a little on the biased side there, but I just thought it was great. I still, when I hear this stuff, I still think, oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really tricky. That's nice.
But he learned everything. Let's stay with Andy a minute, because you are the musical world's Forrest Gump. I'm going to stay with Andy a minute, and I'm putting a photograph on the screen now of a young black musician who came over from America. And if I remember our conversation rightly, and you've told it so many times, I believe he didn't have anywhere to stay. His name was Jimi Hendrix, and Andy brought him over to your house. And I do know we're going to get onto the guitar.
No, incorrect.
What?
The true story. the true story, which is about to be revealed in a book that somebody's writing in Scandinavia, a book about this. The true story is that Chas Chandler arrived in England with Jimmy, came over on a red eye, and it was quite late. They came down. Chas came to me because he wanted to find out from Andy, who lived below me, in the flat below me, whether he knew a left-handed guitarist where he could borrow a left-handed guitar, because that night, only a few hours from that time, he wanted to go to the Bag of Nails or the Scotch of St James or the Speakeasy, one of the 3 night places where we all went after gigs to play, and knowing that there'd be a band on there and that he could sit in and show his wares. As he was in my house trying to get a phone call to find out if there was somebody using my phone, of course, because there was no cell phones then, so he just said, I borrow the phone. While there, Jimmy was sitting there, we were chatting about music and blues and stuff, and he was fiddling around, really just playing my electric guitar, which I had there because I bought it because I used to write on the guitar, and I had this guitar which is very cheap, but it was like it was an Italian fetish guitar, I think they called them. Very weird, but it was a right-handed, and I said, and he loved the way the action on it. I said, well, you can borrow that if you want. You can restring it, but I don't think it'll stand up to the electronics because I think you'll be looking for something else. Anyway, while this was going on, he was playing. It was obvious that he was even playing a guitar to him upside down because it was the right way round, and he's left-handed. It was obvious and I formed the friendship there and then with him. I thought, great, he's just good, and he was very easy to get on with, Jimmy. Very what do you call it? Respectful, almost shy. I mean, almost totally shy off stage. Really would not offend people at all. So anyway, he obviously had been told by Chas that I was the big cheese around London at the time, and if I knew of anybody who was left-handed, if anybody did know, it would be me or Andy, who was the thing. But Andy wasn't there at the time. He wasn't there, so I couldn't actually get into his flat and nick a guitar and give it to him. Andy would have killed me anyway. So. And Chas found somebody who actually would help him out, and then off they went. And that evening, although I didn't go because I was busy at home, he went and he played at the Scotch of St James, and of course there was a few pop stars that were there, that they always are after gigs, and he sort of made a name instantly. But it was the first time he'd played a guitar in this country, after being on a plane all night, and he's really knackered. But he's one of those people that just had to have a guitar in his hand the whole time. So I let him play it, and it was great.
Now I know that you sold it through Gardner Hallgate Auctioneers in Corsham, Wiltshire. Let's see if I can get some facts. I'm not telling people how much you sold it for, but it paid for a few rounds of beer at the pub, and it was, if I'm not mistaken, a 1960s Wanderer blue Jeans electric guitar. I've already shown a picture of you holding it. What?
Yeah, it's a Vandre. It's a Vandre guitar. Vandre is the name of the surname of the guy that wrote it, and they call it a Wandre. Because in Italian, Wandre means a sort of a white sun, I think it's called, because that's how the worker, and he's set up in business to do guitars, having learned how to do cellos and guitars, violins and guitars, and but he called them. Italian, that one's called the model that I I had was a sort of approach. I don't think it was as flash and as shiny and wonderful. If you look them up now, they've got all sorts of different shapes and stuff, and they're really extremely unusual looking guitars. At the time, I liked it because it was quite light, and the thing was, the action was just great for someone who doesn't play guitar a lot. It was very easy to use. Yeah, and the thing was, yes, I did buy it for about 18 quid at the time.
Nice profit, Zoot. Nice profit.
But the thing was, on the provenance note that I hand wrote to the guy for whoever wanted to buy it. In fact, it was the auctioneers, the auction company, they're the ones that told me to price up the price because of its provenance. But on the note, I put in true that Jose Feliciano also played that guitar when he came over, and people used to gravitate to where I used to live. Well, they know it was a musician's house. It was Andy and Colin Allen in the basement, and there was another guitarist that lived. Steve Hammond, in fact, but not many people know about Steve. He's dead now. But Steve Hammond, a very good songwriter, guitarist. So people would come, bring. Oh, you got to go around Zoot's place and all that. Yeah, it was in West Kensington.
You realise, of course, that if I would have played it, you could have tripled the price. You could have said Phil Silverstone played. But listen. The thing that really, I believe, Zoot, the thing that really brought in the figure that you got for it is because it wasn't really the guitar so much, but it was the fact that you had a signed, sealed, remastered vinyl edition of Zoot Money's Big Roll Band, and here's a picture of it, the album that came with the guitar. That's what pushed the price up, right?
Well, it's a re-release. That one there that I'm saying it was totally re-released by Repertoire as a vinyl in its original state. We didn't try and digitalize it and and try and remix it. It's just been slightly cleaned, the sound. That's all. So if the guy that bought it, who in fact I think is a retired businessman from Bournemouth or around my neck of the woods, he's a complete guitar and Jimi Hendrix fan anyway, as well as being a fan of mine. He was so over the moon to buy it. It was fantastic. He was just so knocked out that he actually got it. Thing is, he would get the Live at Clues Cleek, the album, reproduced as it was. They're still on sale, folks, on Amazon for 20 quid.
We're going to get to them in a minute. Last time we chatted, and this really fascinated me. Last time we chatted, you told me about all the times you could see musicians in the audience itching to come on stage with you. And in particular, there was one story, and I want you, if you know the one I'm talking about, to share it with this audience, because they probably didn't hear it. But there was one instance where you found yourself in an unexpected duet with the original singer of the song you were performing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that would be Charlie of the Drifters.
Tell them what happened. Tell them what happened. This is a great story.
Well, I was doing. I believe it happened twice to me actually. The same sort of scenario. The first time was with Charlie the Drifters. I was doing "If You Ever Go This Way." Bring It On Home to Me. I'm singing, and of course, those days, and still today, your eyes close and off you go. You're right. Singing, and it was in the flamingo, so nobody wanted to see me smiling and making faces. I didn't have to do any of that. It's good for it. And my eyes, and I sensed somebody was singing harmony right next to me, sitting on the bench next to me. Of course, I thought, I wasn't freaked out because he obviously he was singing it properly. He was singing in tune, nice harmony. So I thought, one who this is next to me. I wonder if it's some, I don't know, some nutter from the streets or something who just happens to have a good voice. And I look round, and of course it's Charlie. Oh, what? That's fantastic. You know, of course. And those, I hadn't asked him to get up, but there was a lot of times I did ask people, just I could see they were in the audience. The second time that actually happened to me at the Flamingo was with Lou Johnson, who's Please Stay, who's Any Day Now. I loved that song.
Any Day Now. Yeah, I can't sing, but yeah.
We used to do it, and sure enough, he was in the audience. I just said, "You got to come up and you got to do this," you know. And he came up and just played the organ because he brought up in the church, and they all know how to use Hammond organs. You know, every black singer that's been in the church singing, they all know how to accompany themselves on a keyboard of some kind. He was brilliant. It was just great. But that's the second time that sort of happened. Since then, and not since then, but all the way through my career, if I see somebody in there that I know is just itching to do it, the last time it sort of happened in recent memory that people in America would know of, the band leader of the David Letterman show, little Canadian fella,
Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer, who people look at on television and go, "What an annoying little bastard he is." And I watched him, and I had watched him on the Letterman show and thought the same. But actually, he's got a fantastic band. I mean, he really does know his blues and singing his jazz. He bring the bull to head, and sure enough, he was sitting in the audience, and I thought, that looks just like that guy, Paul Schaefer. I wonder, and I asked Andy's, my guitarist now, which is Ronnie Johnson. Ronnie Johnson's my guitar player at the moment. I said to him, is that? He said, yeah, that's him. I've met him. I know him. I said, what's he doing here? He said, I don't know. You'll have to ask him. So I left it in the middle, and to the half time, he was in the bar, and I thought, I got to find out why he's here. Turns out, he Mike Smith, you know, in the Dave Clark 5, the keyboard player, was suffering terrible. Was in a facility, you know, to help it because he, you know, I think MS or something, and he was like completely hospitalized. He had come over because he made friends with him in the 60s, and he actually came over to see him. And looking at the papers and stuff, had written Time Out or whatever it was, which is the local publication here to let you know what's happening at nightlife. He was on. And he came to see, especially to see me, because he knew of me since the 60s. Of course, he's sitting there, and I freaked him out because he didn't tell me this in the half time. I didn't bother him in the half time. I just nodded across the bar. So when we went back on the second half, I pointed to him, I went, there's somebody who's just itching to play. I know he is. I went, Schaefer, get up here and do something. And sure, he just couldn't wait to get up and play. And I played the piano. He played the organ. I let him play my organ while I played the piano. Fantastic, you know, just to join in on the 2 or 3 songs at the end. Great.
There's a joke there somewhere about you letting, I have to say it, you letting Paul Schaefer play your organ on the stage. But I want to just go back to something I was just thinking about. I remember something that really surprised me when we were talking a little while ago about Jimi Hendrix, and you know, he was a wild man on stage. But you told me when we last chatted on the podcast that he would contact, I think you said he would contact you in the early days, and he would be kind of apologetic and say, "Is it possible? Would you mind if I sat in with you?" I mean, he was very sort of shy, wasn't he?
Yes, he did. A couple of times he sat in with us, with the Big Roll Band. He came up with the speakeasy and he had a blow with us, and soloed there. But then I when I went left the Animals in around 69 or so, I was at 60. '69, I left. When I was 67, I went to join the new. I lived in LA. When that disbanded, after that disbanded, I went to do during war and disbanded the Animals, and I had got did a record, and I did a quartet and got some local guys. Actually, one was from Biloxi, Mississippi, but that's beside the point. Where they were living in LA, and I did some gigs around San Diego and all up that coast. He turned up to one of the gigs, and said, "Do you mind if I sit?" I said, "No, of course, sit in." And of course, I couldn't. I actually tried to get him to take more than 2 choruses for solos, but he stepped back. He wanted to play rhythm. He just wanted to be in a band playing. Wow. And he let the guitarist that I had, he let him take long solos while he sat back and just comped, just played the chords behind him. That was the true measure of the guy. He liked to play alongside people, right? It was only his own career being forced to do, to be out front and push that. That was part of his persona. But when he was relaxing and wasn't touring as himself, he enjoyed just sitting back and playing, rhythm guitar in a band. He was great.
That is such an amazing story. The Book of Life, I've read it, your album features a revisited version of Big Time Operator with backing vocals by Nell Montague Rendell, who was on this show last week with Steve and Mark Owers, all of whom comprise Danse Macabre. And I just want to show a clip to everyone of Nell recording the backing vocals. I have a clip of that. So if I can find it, which I can right now, let me play it. I'll be back to you in about 15 seconds. So listen, I
know you've taken to Nell. I know you have. I knew you would. Quiet.
Everyone's watching. Keep it quiet. I'm moving on from that. I'm totally ignoring it. Now listen, behave. You're live now. Are all 3 members of Danse Macabre part of your music life now? Are they all part of your world, or are they just occasionally pop in and out of it?
Well, no, we're in contact all the time. I spoke to Mark actually yesterday because we're thinking of he'd like to do some more gigs again with them backing me to promote the album. But when we did a couple of real live gigs after we'd recorded the album, just to promotion and whatnot, but just to do, and they played songs that I normally. That I do on my gigs from the album. We only did about 3 from the album, and from that album we did together, and it really went down well. The mixture, an evening Zoot Monday type thing. But I've just spoken to him again, and there's 2 more tracks that we've done, which we'd like to get Malcolm, the record company owner, to put out putting it out again, reissue it, but actually adding these 2 songs to it. One of which where we wrote together, and another one is a song that I wrote together with Coyne and Alan.
Well, we have a few more pieces of music coming up. I want to say the Book of Life is a fabulous album, and I urge people, and we're going to talk about a few other albums. We may run over time here, folks, a little bit, but we have to cover. We've got a little bit more to say, but I want to just let everyone see a very brief video I've got. It's a very short video. It's one of my favorite tracks. It is, of course, Mr. Money, and I'm going to play the track. Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to ask you, can you lend me a couple of quid? I suppose that means no.
See, eternal from the.
Let's play. The sound is awful right now, so let's play some sound which is really good.
Gotta get to the show, I can't be late. Jumped in my car, now that's my first mistake. There's a million speed cameras who slow me down. I swear those things are breathing all over this town. Where's Mr. Money? Who, me? Where's Mr. Money? Just let me be. I'm Mr. Money and I'm all over this town. Backstage I hear someone call my name.
Pretty damn good. I was going to get up and dance, and then I remembered that I didn't have any space here to do that. So let's just talk about some of the stuff that's going on with you. Are you still there? You've frozen. There you go. There you go. So let's talk about if.
Yeah.
Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh.
Say what. Yeah, go on.
Okay, you're here, alive and well. So you've got the vinyl of Live at Kluke's Cleek, which is a 50th anniversary reissue of that iconic recording, which was produced by Gus Dudgeon. That's available. They can go to your website and buy that, or buy it wherever records are bought these days.
Amazon, or either Repertoire Records or Amazon. Amazon are carrying all the things for Repertoire at the moment. Yeah.
Then there's the big roll band Live at the Flamingo, and a repackaged re-release of Were You There, originally released on Sanctuary in 2008. And go on.
Yeah. Well, there's a box set which incorporates all of those. 4 CDs. One is the Kluke's Cleek on CD. The Live at the BBC CD, live recordings of us at the Flamingo and other places, and that's that. And the 4th CD is Were You? No, that's Were You There? The 4 CDs anyway, which constitute the box set. It's called 1966 and all that.
Right. And I was hoping I had a picture of that, but I don't. But that sounds like 1966 and all that. That is something that is right smack bang on your webpage, which it's on the screen now the whole time, zootmoney.org. Before I go on to a few pieces of music which I want to play, I want to mention this because the audience may not realize that you've been acting over the years, Zoot. You played, and this will surprise a couple of people, you played Lotterby in the 1979 film Porridge of the TV series, and you've appeared in some of the most popular TV series, including Bergerac, The Professional, Shoestring, The Bill, and my personal favorite, EastEnders, which for me, that wasn't, I mean, so what I was really curious about, and you've had screen time with Ray Winston, Larry Lamb, and Kate Winslet. In any of these situations, did your castmates say, come on, during, like a snack time or during takes, did they say, come on, sing us a song? Did they do that?
No, what I did was, I organised in all of those things. When there was a rap party, they would come to me and say, "Can you organise the music, or or get somebody that to play the music?" So in some cases, what I did was organise some of the actors. I happened to know one was like fancies his chances as a blues singer, somebody else fancies his chances as a ballad singer, and I would either accompany them or musicians to play with them, and basically just organise the music on the rap party. But that happened about 3 or 4 times. But in the main, talking about music and the music life was all they were really interested when they talked to me. It was quite freaky, really. I was questioned when I was doing porridge. I can remember having a conversation with Peter Vaughan, lovely actor who's gone.
Oh yeah, loved him.
Very grouty. He was wonderful, and he came up to me with those eyes, giving me the 1,000 miles, the sort of piercing eyes, and he looked at me and he went, "I used to come and see you at the Flamingo all night." He was at the Royal Court Theatre, or he was doing his acting thing, doing Shakespeare one minute, and after it he would come down to the Flamingo onto the all-nighters and skulk about, apparently, in the darkness.
That was amazing. People will remember, people over here that don't know who Peter Vaughan is in the States, that is, he was the Anthony Hopkins' father when he was the butler, the aging butler who eventually died in Remains of the Day. So Pick and Tell was an album released not too long ago, Zoot, with 2 tracks that you wanted me to share with the audience. And I'm glad that you do. Let me just play an extract of one of those tracks, which is called Thunder. And I got a question to ask, of course, after we play it.
Driving through the streets after one great gig. Troubles felt small, but the city's so big. West End jumping in its shadowy way. Ghosts of London gangsters avoiding the day. The blues still haunted the basement. Smell of busted dreams and seedy lives. Hendrix jamming on the speakeasy stage. Now it all seems like a faded page. Music crying like the purest rain. Never gonna hear the like again. Not again. The thunder drum.
Okay, that was a snippet. I believe it was called Thunder in F, and I wanted to ask you, am I correct that that was dedicated to Andy Thunderclap Newman, who died in March of 16 at the age of 73?
Not strictly true. This album I'm showing you here, that's the album cover.
Yeah.
Which, we did. The first track on it is the Thunderclap Newman hit that we did, and we did that and called it that because the guitarist actually formed the band for him for a tour which he refused to go on, at Thunderclap. So what we used the name just to get a deal, really. And the first was it called Something in the Air? I forget what it's called now, the single. We did that.
You mean the classic Something in the Air? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We re-recorded that and used it as a means of getting publicity to get going. It was just a means to an end, really. The rest of the album, the majority of the album, apart from that track, is written by Pete Brown. All the words are done by Pete Brown, and Peter Goodall does the music. And there's great players on there. I'm just singing and taking the odd solo on organ, but all of it was all done by other people. I'm just singing, basically.
Well, let's hear the old soul singer sing the old soul singer. How does that sound? I got about 90 seconds of that.
Yeah. Because it explains about the 60s, basically, both those songs.
Yeah, let's just play that right now.
I know an old soul singer living
So, were you the old soul singer of the song?
Yeah, it could well be. I could well be that person living down the road who's just lost in his own mire of his past, you know, who doesn't want to go out and play. But the end of the song says he must get a new van, and he'd like to get a horn section and get some young people to follow him, get some new audiences. The end of the song is slightly uplifting, but it's all about a lot of people that Pete Brown and I know that are still, that were great then, but nobody actually understands, nobody remembers them anymore. It's wonderfully nostalgic. The album's got a whole lot of things in it to remind you of, you know, if you're around at that time, and even to explain in some cases to young people what it was like, you know, and the funkiness of the whole album is like that, you know, to put you back in that groove, really.
So as I wrap this up, I have to touch on something, and there's a reason I'm going to touch on it. I wanted to know, it's been a little while now, but it was still quite fresh when we did the podcast, how you're bearing up in a world without your beloved Veronica Ronnie Money.
Well, she's still, hey, she's right behind me, actually. She's always behind me.
How long has it been that you lost her?
2 years, almost 2 years.
Oh my goodness. Well, the reason I mention that is where the hell are you going? The reason I mention that is I'm putting something on the screen now. You set up a foundation for her. There it is. I'm putting it on the screen right now, and you establish a fund to help others suffering with and battling dementia, and I urge our audience to contribute to this fund by going to the address I'm showing on the screen. Veronica. It's veronicaronnie.money.muchlove.com, but you can see it's on the screen, and if you miss it, I'll put it on the screen that the video is going to be shown on, and you seem to be bearing up, but as long as she's still with you, that's the most important thing, and she's in your heart always, isn't she?
Oh, right inside my head all the time. She never lets me up. Never lets up.
Well, so listen, I'm going to. I want to see if I've played. Oh no, you know what? There's one thing I didn't play here. When we were talking about our friends from last week on Danse Macabre, there is, I believe, Mark Ayers with you at the Boar's Head. I think it was Mark. I don't think it was his brother Steve. It's Mark Ayers on guitar with Zoot at the Boar's Head. Let me play this, and then we'll wrap up in a second, but I got to play this. Here we go.
Yeah, incidentally, Mark has said he'd love to come on this podcast with me. He said that you could do two, the price of one.
That's what the set looks like when people go to see you at the Boar's Head in Barnes, right? That's it. Zoot, I am going to do this. I am going to close up now. Then we're going to disconnect. Then we'll be in touch, I'm sure, on emails, etc. I want to thank you very much. And when I close out, ladies and gentlemen, I am closing out with in case you missed the beginning, Zoot's big hit from 1966, Big Time Operator. We're going to close out with that at the end. But just a reminder to everyone, my guest has been Zoot Money. And for more information about Zoot, the albums we've discussed, and dozens of upcoming gigs, especially the Boar's Head is a great place to go to. Visit Zoot's website, which has been on your screen the whole time. And that is zootmoney.org, zootmoney.org. And Zoot, the sound and the quality hasn't been great, but I know that everyone has thoroughly. Let me just read some of the things that have come in here. I tried to avoid one of them from my brother, who had a second sort of joke. He said Andy Summers joined the police because he needed a rest, police, arrest. He promised that was his last one, and believe me, it was. Anne Smith said, careful, Phil, Howard's going to try and take over. Let me see. Let me see. Mike Smith was my favourite member of the DC5. I used to live across from Dave Clark's parents, by the way, so in Southgate. It was called The Drum, the house there. And I used to see him in his E-Type Jag that was on one of the albums. Don't worry, Zoot. We know he's got a... Don't worry, Zoot. We know he's got a soft spot for Nell. That was... okay, we'll forget about that. Everyone had a great time. I think we're going to leave it there, Zoot. Nell's all yours. Nell, if you're watching, my love, come to the States. I'll buy you a lovely dinner, and I promise... I promise. That's it. I'll wear a brown bag over my head. Zoot Money, sir. Until the next time. This is just the beginning. Next time we'll talk about fresh stuff, okay?
Yeah, good. Always good talking to you, Philly. And I enjoy all of your emails. They are very funny stuff. Good stuff.
Zoot, I'm hanging up now, mate. Now, listen, do me a favour. I'm not going to tell everyone what happened when we tried to get this all organised today, but when you get that towel down, don't walk up the bloody ladder. I don't want this to be the last time anyone sees you. Call a neighbour in or something. Zoot Money, until the next time, we're now going to play Zoot's huge hit from the 60s with the Big Roll Band, Big Time Operator. Zoot, speak to you soon, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Everybody, bye. As an